Hello, Steve Bennett again from Sparta. Thank you for joining us for another whistle-stop tour of the Sparta broker portal. Today we're going to explore a few buttons that we haven't looked at previously. In the previous training session, the previous video session, we looked at creating a new policy. Today we're going to look at creating a new quote, examining renewals, looking at customer details and viewing reports. If we get time, we'll also look at managing users, how to add a new user on your system. So if we start off by adding a new quotation, for those of you that viewed the creating a new policy video previously, it's a very similar process. So some of this will appear very familiar to you. So if we click the create new policy button, or create new quote button, again, you're given the choice of ranges that you want to add a policy from. This time we'll choose something slightly different. We'll choose an excess protection policy. And we'll scroll down and we'll pick let's have a look. We'll pick a private motor excess protection. We click on the next button. And you can see that the choices that you're given with excess protection, rather than having a drop down list, you have all of the options or the cover levels appearing on screen with the respective net rates that we charge you, the commission levels that are built into the system which you can adjust, and the gross excluding IPT and the gross including IPT that's chargeable to the consumer. Previously, when we wrote a policy, we just clicked create policy, but in this instance we'll choose, say for example, the £500 excess, which you can see has a net rate to the broker of £21.95 with £15 and 2 pence commission built in. Adding that to the net rate gives the consumer a pre-IPT price of £36.96 and a fully inclusive price of £41.40. In this instance, we're going to create a quotation. So we click the create quotation button, and for those of you who were present for the creating a policy video, you'll see that the screen is exactly the same. What you're actually doing is creating a policy in advance, if you like, and saving it as a quotation. So in this instance, we're not going to change any of the figures that are on screen. We'll accept them as they are. Again, the same thing applies. You get a description at the top. It's a private motor excess with 12-month term. We scroll down, and if we add all the details in, I'm not going to do it on this occasion because it's relatively self-explanatory. There are a few different fields on different products. For example, on this one, it's asking for the insurance start date, and the reason they want that is because the underwriter needs to be able to tie up the insurance start date with the date the excess protection was issued. Again, exactly the same details you've seen before. The customer's address with an address search facility. Then you've got his contact details, telephone number and email. The vehicle details, because in this instance it's a private motor excess. So you put the customer's vehicle details in there. And then at the end of it, all you do is you click save a quote. I won't do it on this occasion because all it actually does is, like it does with a policy number, instead of creating a policy number, it creates a quote number. That quote sits in the system and protects the price that you've saved it at for 30 days from the date that you've written the policy. You can go into the system at any time, retrieve a quote and convert it into a policy there and then. You can actually accept the quote and create a policy there and then, now on screen if you wish. You don't have to save it into the system and come back later. If you're happy with what's on screen and the customer wants to buy it now, you can do that now. And what it does, the system automatically recognises the fact that you want to create a policy, and it goes back to creating a policy and producing the policy documents for you. If you needed to clear the screen and start again, the orange button in the right hand corner allows you to do that. That's creating a quote, and it's that simple. And obviously, as we've seen on the dashboard previously, what you end up with is active quotes. Now what you can see now is that there's an active quote on screen, which we don't want to do anything with at the moment, but What you can do, you've got actions on the active quote button now, where I won't do it, but you can actually click on it, view it, change it, delete it. You can actually turn your quote into, if I go into that, let's have a look at that button there to remind myself what it's doing. Oh yeah, it's going to create a PDF. Yeah, it's going to create a PDF of the quotation. That's fine. So if you wanted to send a PDF of the quote to somebody, then the pen, look on the middle one. There you go. So what we've done now is we've actually brought up the quote again on system, so you can review it having seen it on the screen, and you can now accept the quote and create a policy, or save a quote. And you can save it and it'll save it again. Now you can view or print the quotation, edit it, view or print the policy wording, view or print the IPID. So it's giving you lots of features at the time that you're writing the policy. So back to the dashboard. That covers creating a new quotation. If we look at renewals now, bear in mind all the data that's we've got. As you can see here, the policy, the broker is called Sparta Policies. That's a dummy site with dummy data in it. So obviously that enables us to just go in and have a look at it. But what we're going to do is look at renewals, and that'll show us some dummy data. We can see that there are 2 renewals up for 2 renewals that are pending. So those 2 renewals should appear when we click this button. So we click on the renewals button, and there they are. Now this gives you the option to either renew the policy or lapse it. So if we look at this first one, in the name of Neil Hands, I can see from the policy number that it's a vehicle assist policy, and I can tell that from the VA that's there. So that's a replacement vehicle policy. And if I click renew, the policy appears on screen, and it gives you the option to change any personal details that may have changed. The customer may have moved address or whatever. You can't change the. You can change the financials in terms of the commission that you want to make, and the charge that you want to make to the customer. It may be that you want to charge him less this year. It may be that you want to charge him more. You have the option to do that here. Obviously, subject to what the FCA dictates over weeks and months to come, will determine whether those buttons have to be altered or changed or amended. So once you've actually seen the policy again, that it's up for renewal, you can then renew the policy by clicking the renew button. I won't do it, but what that will effectively do is just add a policy in exactly the same way as we created renew policy earlier on. Interestingly, on your statement that you'll see, when you do create policies and then renew them, the status bar will tell you it's either N for new business or R for renewal. If it's cancellation without a refund, it's CNR. If it's cancellation full refund, it'll be CFR. So those are the statuses that you can look for on your statements in future. So that essentially is your renewals function. We've got brokers now, obviously, that are renewing 50, 60 or 100 policies a month now. So this makes it a much simpler exercise, because they can go in and see which policies want renewing, and they can renew them one at a time, and make sure that they're actually only renewing policies that they should be renewing, and not renewing if a customer hasn't elected it. Okay, so we go back to the dashboard page again. The next section is your customers. This is where you can view your customers, and what we're going to do is select. And now what you can do is, having selected view your customers, it gives you the option to either search a customer that sits within the policies or it sits within quotes. So you can go to policy, and it'll then bring up the details. So you can search by postcode, surname, email address, business name, phone number, vehicle registration, policy number, or broker reference. I won't do the search now, because obviously we've only got dummy data in the system, but that will bring up the customer's details on screen for you to make a note of it or do whatever you need to do in terms of making any changes. So that's how you can view your customers. Go back to the dashboard. The final report is the viewing your reports. This is effectively your account statement. You get a statement every month of policies that you've sold in the previous month. But what this enables you to do, you can go to view reports and you can view your statement. Let's say, for example, we want to go from 2020 right up until, say, the 30th of April 2020. And you can select product type if you want to, so you can just select the products that you think you know were sold within that period. So that enables you, from a management information perspective, to actually see how many of a particular product you've sold within two dates. So this gives you a bit of management information on screen. But what we're doing here is we're going to select all of the policies in this dummy broker that was sold between the 1st of January and the 30th of April 2020. So we click run, and there you can see there's a number of policies. Obviously there's some names in there that relate to this test, obviously test cases, but what you can see is there's some names of people that work for the company or are connected to the company, and where we've used their details with their permission. You got an RTI finance gap policy, but you can see that there are cancellations. Now, what I mentioned earlier about the status, this is what appears on your statement. So you've got new, well, these are all new policies, and these are all cancel full refunds, CFRs, and they appear in red with negative financials, and it gives you an up-to-date picture, an up-to-date balance as per the statements that's on the system. Okay, so if we flick back to the dashboard, finally, the very quick thing we're going to look at now is how to manage users. You might want to add users. There are two types of user on the system. There's a head user. Now, as you can see in this instance, I'm classed as a head user and Neil Harris is classed as a head user. But what is the difference? There's a head user and there's a staff user. A head user, you might want to control who has the authority to change the RRPs on policies, the commission levels on policies. And when I say changing it, I don't mean change on an individual basis, because anybody can do that. It's changing it, your default rates. That might be, you might choose that is the responsibility of a head user, not a staff user. If you select staff user, all they can do is write policies. They can add a customer, they can write policies, and that is the extent of what they can do. So this is where you would add a user. And to add a new user, we click manage users, we just click add new, and it's a self-explanatory data screen with a question set that you just fill in all the information, click save details, and you've added that person. It enables you to create the username and the username of the person, the user email. When you create a new user, it will automatically, when you click save details, it will automatically on the next screen give you their password. Now you can change that password, but this is their initial password to open the system. So you can add all of your users. We recommend that you do that for the simple reason that if there are any mistakes that occur within the system, you as the broker will want to know who you've got to retrain or advise about the mistake that was made. But in addition to that, the FCA are very strict on brokers that only use one username and everybody shares it. The danger with that is that it leaves you open to cybersecurity threats, your site, not ours, where you can, if you're using the same login details all the time. So obviously if somebody, for example, if a member of staff is feeling out of sorts or has had a bit of a disagreement with the management, they may decide to write scurrilous policies that render the company liable for charges. Obviously you'd tell us that had been written erroneously or wrongly, and that's okay, but it's the nuisance factor that would create. So we do encourage you to get the head user to create head users as substitutes for himself, if you like, and also staff users, individual staff users, so they've each got a login. What we've also found, by having individual staff users, we can actually help you with management information. We can tell you about who's working hardest for you, who's selling most of Sparta products for your brokerage. You may know that, but we can actually give you the financial details that go behind that user. How much is that particular person generating for you as a broker, and how efficient and effective are they? Okay, well that brings this session to a close. If we go back to the dashboard, um, obviously thank you very much indeed for joining us again today. Just what we always say at the end of the video is you know, the same sort of thing. We'd urge you to get your, if you're the principal watching this, we'd urge you to get your team involved with the Sparta portal as much as you can. Many of the improvements that you see on screen and many of the enhancements that have been made, we weren't aware that they were needed. Brokers told us, and we made those changes. So if you see something and you think it'd be really good if we could do this, it'd be really good if you do that, make the suggestion. Or if it's a member of staff who are actually operationally using the system, get them to make the suggestion. We will look at it, we'll investigate it, and if we think that it's got legs and it will assist you and other brokers within the community to have a better enhanced service from Sparta, then we will introduce it. So above all else, this is your site and it's your community, and we're here to support you. So please encourage your staff to contact us if they've got any suggestions that they think can help. Thank you for watching. We hope today's little session was helpful. It's a bit shorter than normal. Look out for further videos designed to enhance your experience of the portal, which we hope will help you to grow your business. Bear with me for a few seconds while I just change screen, because the next thing that I'm going to display is the Sparta contacts. So please don't hesitate to get in touch with us, and thank you for your business, and we look forward to continuing to support you. And here are the Sparta contacts.